Travis Wingoodsall. I'm dreading doing this video tonight rather than tomorrow morning, as I'm concerned I'm gonna again for 6 days in a row wake up at 1 in the morning. So here we go anyway. Hypothetical situation. Imagine Bezos decides to cater his Amazon company specifically to make money off of Christians. And so he purges his inventory and only gets items for Christians, and then tells Christians he's now the prophet, their prophet, and that they can now become Prime members by paying 10% of their income. Every source of income they receive, members have to pay 10% of it to Amazon, to Bezos, who is now the prophet. And if you covenant and promise to become a member and pay your money to Bezos, he would then perform baptisms and make you members, prime members. Become a prime member through baptism with your 10%. And then you'd then have to purchase additionally the items for sale. And there's no prime discounts anymore. They're the full higher prices than other people selling similar items. And says that you now have to buy your underwear through him, and it's more expensive than buying the worldly underwear. How many people do you think would continue with Amazon and become an Amazon Christian? Yeah, Mormons in the audience are squirming, ex-foes are giggling. Because it never occurred to you, did it? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ceased to exist on the face of the earth with Congress's Edmunds Tucker Act signed into law in 1887. No more. Gone. It was a criminal operation, and the United States shut it down along with the Perpetual Immigration Fund. The crimes were just too extreme, and they shut it down, and John Taylor died in prison. Okay? So what's this that we're born and raised in the covenant of? Well, 1923, November 26th, Heber J. Grant filed articles of incorporation for the corporation. That's the name of it. The corporation. And of course, the CEO of the corporation is the one in charge of the corporation. And Heber J. Grant put in those articles of incorporation that those who were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will be the ones to pay the corporation. And in return, the corporation will deceive the members into believing that they're a religious organization. But they have no vote, no authority in the corporation, like they did in the religion. It's all gone. Section 107, verse 22, no vote. You're not going to look it up. I know there are Mormons who are confused. What do you mean a sustaining vote? We don't vote for anything. Yeah, they screwed up section 107, verse 22 on purpose. And you're all just supposed to feel good about it. Pray, get the right feeling. And so as such, they are a company, a corporation. They have no religious authority, and yet that's what they claim they have. And they have been deceiving us ever since. They never let the Mormons know that the church was shut down. They never let the church know that they're now a corporation and that every member is a slave to the corporation to make money for the corporation that hoards it. And that's why everything they do is a violation of the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith's original documents, not his forged documents by Brigham Young. And so this great evil has taken over the world. As Oaks got leaked by a little sister missionary in the Las Vegas, Nevada mission, 14th of March, 2020, in which Oaks said, all of the problems of the world that we're about to have is just a test run. All of the problems in 2020 that had yet to happen, Oaks said, it is a test run for the coming of Jesus. It's a corporation. He's not a prophet. That's why they only claim titles. That's why they deny the power and authority thereof. That's why they don't even bother with translation. And so it is their full intention to overthrow this government. In case you missed what happened in 2020. And so 2020 was the test run for this year. They've set everything up, and here we go. Bloodbath 2024. And all of you are getting played into thinking that Trump's got dementia. You thought he actually worked at McDonald's. Nope, that was a closed business that they purposely used as a stage for Trump to put on a show. What did you think he does? I mean, seriously. You got all these Trump lovers who know nothing of Trump. It's just so sad. Seriously, they don't read any of his books. They don't listen to any of his rallies. You know, they just watch Fox News to get their Trump reports. Dear God. So yeah, you missed all the fun stuff when he was president. You know, he used the magic Sharpie to change the course of a hurricane. Wow. Magical powers of Trump. And said Mia Love showed Trump no love as she was silent after he trash-talked her ancestral home, which was a third world country. And yet there are some people gone hiding. Right, Mike Pence? Yep, there are people who know their lives are in danger. Right, Mitt Romney? And yet, MAGA wants to be in denial. Nope, won't happen. Got all these women for Trump, all these blacks for Trump, all these gays for Trump, all these illegal aliens for Trump. All these for DACA for Trump. Sperm for Trump. Disabled for Trump. Elderly for Trump. But anyway. And so in the church news, we have a new temple being dedicated by somebody who's not authorized. And so since they're a company, since it's their full intention to raise money for the overthrow of the government, using Jesus as their cover story to blame, no, it's Jesus that's doing it. You know, it's like when a bully grabs you by the arm and smacks you in your face with your hand over and over again. Why do you keep hitting yourself? Why do you keep hitting yourself? Why do you keep hitting yourself? They're telling you, Jesus is responsible. Jesus is responsible. Unless it's something bad, then you're the one responsible. You need to follow Jesus, to get blessed by Jesus. And so if these temples are not for religious purposes, which, no, they're not. If you ever went to an endowment session, you'd know. It's for the coup. You're supposed to help with the coup. Senator Lee last week ordered you to join the coup. Senator Lee's third great grandfather was involved in the coup to overthrow Joseph Smith, and then murdered women and children in 1857 on 9/11. So like third great grandfather, like third great grandson. And it's sad that Mormons want to be stupid to miss all this, to not hear it, see no truth, hear no truth, speak no truth. Spiritual witness feeling bubbles only. Because you're just setting yourself up for a bigger faith crisis than those who have already left and had a little sensitive snowflake faith crisis. Yours is going to be a complete meltdown, was the word of the day for Fox News, apparently. I get to watch the news while signed in again, but YouTube is still acting like China with the cell phones. They're unhappy if you watch YouTube for too long, and they make it miserable to watch, and it gets worse as the time goes on that you're watching YouTube, which you'd think that's what YouTube wants, is people to watch YouTube. Nope. They want to control your behavior. So the first thing they were doing was rigging the algorithms to recommend what they wanted you to watch. And now I'm witnessing, being victimized, as they're now trying to control not just what I watch, but how much I watch. This is what China does to its people, and why they require all their people to use their cell phones for everything in their society. And yes, China is also using the AI virus malware system, which creates false positives to punish people, just like the YouTube algorithms. And so, yeah, if you have a social credit rating in China that is a certain number, you're only allowed certain sites for so long. You're only allowed to buy so much food. You're only allowed to purchase so much items. They control everything in your life. And so, yes, you have to basically kiss the ring of China on your social media channel. China social media, in order to try to boost your credit rating, your social credit rating, so that you can have more time on the sites you want to watch, so that you can have more options to buy for your living. And so, yes, there's millions who have been rendered homeless and poor because of this social credit rating system. And they're phasing it in the United States of America, bit by bit. And they gotcha. Because every time I go out, I pretty much see a whole bunch of people looking at their cell phones. You guys aren't paying attention to what's going on in the world. You're not learning from history, and you're doomed to repeat it. As the Nazis are here, the Nazis are here, the Nazis are at the gates. They're actually the swamp. They're the deep state. And they're accusing the Communist Party of being the deep state. We're all doomed. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic. Nobody even knows what that is and how it's supposed to function, because we've never done it in America, because Thomas Jefferson created the first party group of communism to destroy America and the Constitution. You know, if you didn't want to be a founding father, you should have just said so and gone back to England. Nope. You had to be a terrorist, an insurrectionist of that which you helped found. So, yeah, another concerning thing is that the church is deeply involved with indoctrinating children in this church. Parents give up their parental responsibilities to hand them over to the predators. Bring your daughter to the slaughter. And Mormon parents are clueless of what they're doing. So, the law of the Jews. In case you've forgotten, Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon are Jewish. They're not Christian. If you dare, like the dumbass earlier today, try to claim that the Jews aren't practicing Christian doctrine, so how could they have written the Bible? How could the Book of Mormon be Jewish if it's not following the Christian doctrines? God, I mean, seriously, the depths of evil. And so, I'm feeling a little left out because Idaho Chick is watching my 4-hour movie for her bedtime story, and I don't have anything from her for a bedtime story. I have to talk and make this video instead. And then probably sneak in one episode of season 4 of Battlestar Galactica, the final season, while in bed, dreading that I'm going to end up waking up at 1. Not fair. And so, yes, you need to learn about the Jews, pre-Babylonian captivity Egyptians. And so the first place you're supposed to go to is the law of the Jews, Deuteronomy. And Joseph Smith helps you out as to where to go first. Deuteronomy 18, 15 through 19. He takes you to Acts because there's a certain wording in Acts that he wants you to be very careful and pay attention to. So, this is the Jewish Christ. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee. Joseph Smith says, that's you, Mormons. You're thee. It's going to be a Mormon Christ. A human being. Raised up. Seed, egg, baby. Mortal parents, mortal baby. A human. No other nature and character. Not the first creed of Christianity character, which is not real. Not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that turned it into non-Trinitarian. Now he's a space alien with a superior body that will murder you by looking at him. And somehow came down to his 14-year-old daughter and raped her, and then abandoned her and forced her to have the baby. And it's a good thing somebody married her as pregnant, because otherwise she'd have to give up the raped baby for adoption in human trafficking. You wondered why I mock women for Trump? The protector of women, a convicted rapist, responsible for overthrowing Roe v. Wade. And there are still women for Trump. That's a level of stupid, I tell you. So this is going to be a Mormon. Is it you? Brian David Mitchell said yes. Chad Daybell said yes. Where are they now? One of them's getting the death penalty. Yeah, no. There's a whole bunch of prophecies that form a checklist so that you can judge him by his fruits. You know, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15, which is in the Book of Mormon and 3rd Nephi. By their fruits. Consequences. Spiritual witness feelings are not consequences. They're feelings about the seed you got. It's the 5 physical senses. That's what a fruit is. It's the physical, tangible, real results, not Constantine's Jesus. And so, a prophet. And so they get this from Deuteronomy 19 and Matthew 7. By their fruits you shall know them. But we also see it here, starting in verse 20. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name. This is a false prophet. Which I have not commanded him to speak, or that which or that shall speak in the name of Jesus the Christ, which is not the Jewish Christ, other gods. How do Christians miss this? It's the Jewish Ten Commandments, so it's the Jewish Christ right here, the man like Moses. So therefore it's not Jesus of Christianity, and yet Christianity says, nope, it's Jesus. Footnotes say it's Jesus. 15b, TG, Jesus Christ, mission of. TG, Jesus Christ, prophecies about. But all prophecies and revelations ended with the death of Jesus Christ. Hey, just like that Methodist preacher told Joseph, whom we call a prophet. But here's something that seems kind of scary, or that even that prophet, the false prophet, shall die. Now, are the Jews supposed to stone him? Is it stoning? Well, nobody put the footnote to Doctrine and Covenants, section 85, verse 8. Guess who the one mighty and strong is, Mormons? Yep. It's the Mormon, the Christ of the Jews. And so, verse 8, while that man, Joseph doesn't even call him a prophet, let alone a false prophet. Who is called of God and appointed, that putteth forth his hand to steady the ark of God. Yeah, that's only for the high priest. And the high priest is the president of the church. Section 107, verse 91. Which keys does he have again? Because it's not Peter, James, and John in the text. Isn't that interesting? You can find out so many bombshells simply by reading. I mean, the joke in the church all through growing up years was that if you want to hide something from the members of the church, you put it in a manual. You just put it in any publication, hide it from the members. They won't read their scriptures. They won't read the manuals. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of bombshells. You know, like the Book of Mormon is Jewish. Joseph Smith, Jewish. The Jewish Christ is Joseph Smith. That's what it means in verse 91 of section 107. As the president of the church, he's the man like Moses, the Christ. And he talks about a future coming of the other Christ that Joseph Smith is preparing Mormons for. And instead, you're waiting for Jesus, because you're following a false idol god by corporate leaders. Well, this person who's altering the temple, because the Ark of the Covenant goes in the Holy of Holies. It's only for the leader of the church, who's supposed to be the Jewish Christ. Only he speaks the Word of God. Section 43, Section 28 reiterates that for Mormons and elders. No one else has this authority. Definitely not the 12 apostles. They are only to quote from the scriptures and the words of the Christ, president of the church. And we don't have one. We have somebody who's only claiming to have the keys of Peter, James, and John. That's just planting the word to all the world. It's not the gathering of the fruit. That's the key of Moses. And so we see that he'll be struck by lightning. Vivid shaft of lightning. And all Mormons instead misinterpreted that they're going to get struck by lightning if they drink Mountain Dew or say the four-letter word sex. S-E-X. 4 letters. Pay attention to verse 11. And they who are of the high priesthood. It's capitalized. Everybody knows in the church office building that that's the prophets. Whose names are not found written in the book of the law, because they have no authority to touch the Ark of the Covenant, to claim to be prophets, seers, revelators. You were supposed to run the test on them, Mormons, you didn't. Or who have found to be apostatized, or have been cut off. Remember that precisely as it stands in our New Testament that I talked about earlier? From the church. That cutting off is cut off from Zion. And there have been many Mormons who have cut themselves off from Zion simply by the hate comment, death threat, and false witness testimonial. Threatening me to worship Jesus. Me, of all people. Did you run the test on me? Is this your first video? Do you not know how YouTube works? And so, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of scriptures about the fall of the great and abominable church. Joseph Smith even talks about it in the preface that was changed to be the preface, section 1. Mormons who do not hearken to their Christ or the words of the prophets of the scripture prophecies and revelations shall be cut off from among the people. Again, cutting yourself off from Zion. For Mormons have strayed from mine ordinances and have broken mine everlasting covenant of monogamy. Thus, the temple needs to be set in order. You have people who are unauthorized dedicating these temples as part of a land grab. That's why the state of Utah was ordered by the church to deny China from buying up the land of Utah. Because China knows what's coming in the coming days. That's why they're buying up America. And so Mormons therefore seek not the Lord, the Jewish Christ, to establish his righteousness. You know, love. That's it. That's all you had to do. You couldn't even do it. You're trying to take away the agency of others, to have them conform to your will in the image of your own God, walking in your own way. Not listening to the prophets, not reading the scriptures. You're making up your own religion with your own God, and you call him Jesus. You are idol worshippers. And so, the prophecy is that Babylon shall fall. It already fell to the Persians long time ago. What's Joseph Smith talking about? I think he's getting dementia. He's having a meltdown. I think it's section 112, but I'll have to type it in to find out. On my house began. Section 112, sure enough. Start in verse 23. Verily, verily, I say unto you, darkness covereth the earth, gross darkness the minds of the people. All flesh has become corrupt before my face. Behold, vengeance cometh speedily upon the inhabitants of the earth after 200 years. A day of wrath. A day of burning. A day of desolation. The abomination of desolation. The day that shall burn as an oven. And Joseph Smith adds, because it's not literal history, remember? They, the enemy, that come, shall burn you, Mormons, cutting yourself off from Zion, which will be the only place on earth that will be at peace, safety, and refuge. Those who are left behind, that's a Christian joke. See, Christians believe that Jesus is coming to first kidnap the righteous in what they call the rapture, hold them hostage, and then his second coming is to murder the wicked, everybody else who's on earth. Yay! Assassin Jesus. Yep. And Christians listen to that dumbass who claimed that the God of the Old Testament is the wrathful, vengeful God, but the New Testament God is love. Whose second coming is wrathful vengeance. Like the Old Testament God. Real Old Testament stuff, Mr. Mayor. Can't quote it. But dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. The dead rising from the grave. Volcanoes, earthquakes. Hilarious. You can listen to Mr. Pecker here. Gonna get him a nice fruit basket. And so of weeping, mourning, lamentation, and reaping of the whirlwind. KK's priests. It shall come upon ye all the face of the earth, saith the Lord. Bloodbath 2024. And upon my house shall it begin, and from my house shall it go forth, saith the Lord. You catching on to the pattern here? The leaders of this corporation are not authorized to be religious leaders. They are not authorized to dedicate temples, to officiate and run temples. They definitely have no authority to have a Holy of Holies and touch the Ark of the Covenant. In other words, receive revelation for the church. This is the great and abominable church. This is Babylon. The temple is what is being talked about here. There's been a lot of those guys lately. For the last couple of weeks. Just throughout the day, just repetitively. I know we've got some elderly apartments across the street. And then, of course, there's homeless that have made this their new hangout spot this year. Because the cops aren't doing anything to get them the help they deserve. What's the state of Utah won't do? They don't care. I mean, there's a new treatment center. There's 2 of them, actually, that I saw in the news here in Utah getting opened up now. Dear God, did you guys not get it? Psychology is a fraud. Their treatment centers are being sued and shut down, and the people are going to prison. Psychology is a fraud. This is the fruit of psychology. This. Because that's, I think that's an EMT. I don't think that's a copper siren. They each have different siren sounds to let people identify which one they are, but it's been a long time since I've seen them. I think I can figure it out if I listen to all 3 and had to pick which one is which. But I'm pretty sure that was an EMT rather than a policeman, and definitely it wasn't a firefighter. Fire truck. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, you're going to have a lot of that on this day of vengeance, and wrath, and burning, and desolation, weeping, mourning, lamentation, and whirlwind. And so it's going to be a little too late for you when you're burning to wish that you were in Zion. You made your choice. You cut yourself off because of your wickedness, your unbelief, your belief and worship of a false idol god by corporate board members who fled the country to their non-extradition countries where their offshore bank accounts are, holding the trillions of dollars. And so, first among those of you who have professed to know my name and have not known me. Remember, he's a human. Did you test me? So that you can judge whether I've had dreams as a seer, prophecies as a prophet, revelations as a revelator? Did you not go to my video page and click on popular? What's my #1 video? All these years, despite the censorship of YouTube of my channel. There you go. Judge me. Am I a prophet? Am I a revelator? Did it come to pass? And a translator. Do you know that I'm the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew? You ever notice that there's a bunch of hieroglyphs and the facsimiles that don't have a match in Gardner's Egyptian sign list. And you've even found Budge's records. You wonder why they still publish his works. But his sign list is bigger. But you still can't find them all. If only there was somebody who can translate it. And then you see, hey, he's got 4.1K videos on this channel. And then you go and you click on oldest. Judge me. You can even go to academia.edu. You can download it for free if you don't want to read it online. I don't think Academia has a time limit for the usage of their site like YouTube does. Judge me. Don't just falsely accuse and rush to judgment, basing it off of your Christian interpretation of Jesus. You will be wrong, because obviously I'm not Jesus. I'm real. If you cut me, do I not bleed? If you rip my heart out and frappe it in a blender on high, do I not cry? Okay. And so there's lots of stuff about the fall. But first, you need to go to the Jews. Because Deuteronomy says it's a man like Moses. So the author of the book of Exodus decided, okay, we know that he will be a man like Moses, so I'm going to name my character Moses. And there's going to be an Exodus. So I'm going to go into detail and tell a prophecy story about the latter days and include the Exodus during harvest time and the Feast of Tabernacles. Tense. And so, I guess we're going to have to get the bones of Joseph and Hiram, since the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints didn't want them in the trade with the community of Christ. You know, the church gave them a few pennies percentage-wise of the total asset value. I think it was even pesos. Percentage-wise. Oh, they conned her so bad. But, you know, if you're struggling to get thousands of dollars, 200 million is a pretty good deal, I guess. You could have taken them for 200 billion, sweetheart. They would have easily said it. Nelson was desperate for April conference. You shouldn't have given up so quickly on Joseph Smith, who was exposing these guys. And so, in chapter 12, verse 29, we have the fall of the great and abominable church pattern. And it came to pass that at midnight the enemy came as a thief in the night, and they that come shall burn them. The Lord smote all the firstborn of Ephraim patriarchal blessings in the land of Utah. Remember, it's Mormons. The Mormon who will be the Christ. This is what you do now. This is the prophecy. They're talking about you, Mormons. Who did you think they were talking about? The Jews? They're not in bondage to Egypt. There's no temple in Jerusalem. There's a mosque by another religion with a false Christian Jesus on it. Yeah, you didn't know Allah was from the Canaanite El and is translated in the plural we, just like Constantine's Trinity. Evil people have no inspiration. They have to steal and plagiarize. Right, Brigham Young? Forged documents. You know, Joseph had nothing to do with the composition of the Book of Mormon. They specifically put those plagiarized writings in the Book of Mormon in the place they did so that you would understand. Because everybody had the late war. That was the school class text manual. So people were supposed to go, hey, that sounds like the late war. Oh, it's talking about the latter days war. Curious. I want to know more. Nobody was supposed to think it's Christian literal history. It says right at the beginning, Jewish. It's a prophecy of the latter days. It gives you the date of the beginning of the latter days, the first year. In the first chapter of the first book of the Book of Mormon. Verse 4. The first year of the reign of King Zedekiah. Remember, it's not literal history. Verses 8 through 10. There it is. 23rd September 2017. That all the Jews are talking about. Revelation 12, 1, 2, and 5. Notice there's a Joseph Smith translation footnote. What does it say? What does it mean? Did you go to it? Joseph Smith adds something to the text. What does it mean? Prophecy and revelation, day and hour. So yeah, I'm being harsh with you. Because Wednesday is this day. I've got to stir you up to repentance. We're pretty much on deathbed repentance time here. I understand the church has lied to you from your birth. But for you to still deny this, yeah, I'm gonna mock you. I'm gonna be mean. Because you're mean. And I gotta call you out. Because your life is in danger. And I gotta woke you. And that's a trigger word for you. Because that's for sensitive snowflakes who change pronoun meanings. And so we do not have this kind of succession. This is a family succession where the birthright blessing son takes over the leadership of the church. You know, like the patriarch. As Idaho Chick is watching that tonight for her bedtime movie. He's sitting on his throne. Fascinating. Firstborn, Pharaoh sitting on his throne. There it is, 23rd September 2017. But it's used in the context of this year, in 2 more days. Interesting. Yeah, I just saw that. Cool. So he gives you the first and the last year of the latter days with that right there. Because traditionally this is right before the last day, and technically is the last day of the last year of the latter days, which is Thursday. This is the Exodus. And so right before is the evening, but they're saying midnight for a reason here, because of all the prophecies. And so all of the golden cows lost the firstborn of the Book of Mormon. So Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron. Aaron really never has a speaking role. But, Moses complains that I am a man of stumbling speech or slow speech or whatever it was he claimed. And other people, the book of Jasher, for example, uses the story that as a child he burned his tongue on coals, which is where Isaiah prophesies about the hot burning coal, trying to tell a story about that prophecy, like the Matthew author tells the Isaiah prophecies in the story form that he gave, but it's all Emmanuel. Remember, Matthew quotes Isaiah about Emmanuel, and then says, so despite the prophecy that his name's supposed to be Emmanuel, they called him Jesus. That's because it's the prophecies of Isaiah turned into a story form. Thus his name is the reverse spelling of Isaiah, Jesus. Isaiah, Jesus. Yah of salvation, salvation of Yah for Isaiah. Real simple if you know the Jews, not the Christians. And so, you get to go Thursday. That's the whole tabernacles. That's what this is all about. This is the gathering. The keys of the gathering is Moses. This is it. Joseph Smith in verse 40, where he says, precisely as it stands in our New Testament, then says, Mormons, listen up. Your Jewish Christ, a Mormon born and raised among you, who will start his ministry on the 23rd of September 2017 in Utah, will warn you. And if you don't believe him, if you don't listen to him, if you don't prepare, you will cut yourself off, precisely as it stands in our New Testament. You will die. You will be left behind and die. So yeah, I'm eagerly waiting to see if it's going to happen. Otherwise, we become like Mulek, the king who had to stay behind because Mormons were wicked and nobody wanted to go. As Lehi in advance. And so thus, it'll be a matter of survival. But since you don't know who I am, and you don't believe, when it all hits the fan, if that's the scenario that's going to play out, nobody's going to listen to me if I survive. Nobody's going to believe me. Everybody's going to say, well, Utah's destroyed, let's go to Independence, Missouri. And I'll be saying, no, that's a trap, don't do it. Who are you? What are those wounds in your hands and feet? You probably have no clue what I'm talking about. Okay, and so then the rest, they're supposed to be getting the wealth of the church that's been hoarded for the latter days. Nelson said, we're hoarding the money for Armageddon, for the second coming. We're going to give it to Jesus. Well, there is no Jesus, so it's me. Here they're saying they're going to give it to me so that I can get you to Zion, that we can build Zion and no longer need a monetary system of government. Second Nephi, chapter 26. No priestcraft. Those who work for money will perish. No money in Zion. That's a big clue, guys. This church wants a monetary system of economy. That's why they're hoarding the money. The Book of Mormon says Zion must not have a monetary system of economy. It will perish. And here the church is hoarding the money for Zion, to be the economy for Zion. Money. Do you not believe the Book of Mormon? Do you not believe Joseph Smith? Joseph Smith didn't write section 119. That was Brigham. The Community of Christ does not have it in their Doctrine and Covenants. There's a reason, because it was Brigham's Doctrine and Covenants. And so all of the events that are here are symbolic of the prophecies. Unleavened cakes, because they didn't have time to rise. They had to leave in a rush on the final day. And it's got to be done in order. Gone over the prophecy with you. Got it all set up so that no bugs will occur. Bishops are supposed to be the ones who organize you into the different caravans of migrants. The Fox News is going to have a hissy fit. I am surprised I didn't hear them talk about the one that just started today down in southern Mexico. Over 2,000 are marching their way to the United States for the election. I would have thought that Fox News would have warned of the national security threat that Biden's not getting SEAL Team 6 to assassinate him for. Nope, I think it was ABC or CBS or something like that. We're talking about it. And so, yeah, I'm sure that tomorrow it'll be all over Fox. They'll no longer be talking about McMeltdowns anymore. Oh crap, it's getting too late to have a bedtime episode. Oh well. So, yep, this is what we're looking for. The fall of the great and abominable church. The Book of Mormon talks about it. Everybody talks about it in their different way. See, even the Gospels talk about it, but they cut off their stories before it happens. And so they end right there after, well, it's a second coming, but you gotta understand that they're taking segment stories and repeating them throughout the books. That's how you understand it. It's just like the Book of Mormon. Even though Lehi is in a narrative, when you read, and Lehi dwelt in a tent, That's the end of the first story. And then the next sentence is the new story. And it's the same pattern, and then boom, Lehi dwelt in a tent. That's the repeated pattern in the rewritten 116 pages by Senior. Because Junior let the money man steal the documents. So, that's pretty much it. So yeah, the number 77 plays a big part of this. It'll be the 7th day on that day, even though 6 days for it depends on whether you count the number of days away versus the number of days, and thus 7 or 8 for the Jews, because the Jews started on the evening before at 6 p.m. And so right now it's tomorrow for the Jews here in the United States, because it's almost 9 o'clock. So at 6 p.m. it turned Tuesday for the Jews in the Jewish calendar. And that's why it's 7 days or 8 days. And so counting up, we started with the first day being 1. And so this is now 5, 6. Yeah, 6. Day 6. So yeah, pull out the other picture and make that one. Signs in the heavens and the likeness of things on the earth, to help you understand that this was prophesied. This was revealed. The day and the hour was revealed. They knew the signs in the heavens for this day. This is a precise timekeeping right now. Right now, up in the sky is the one and only one time ever. And then boom, whoop, another brand new once ever time right now. And again right now. And again right now. This will never repeat. It has not been a repeat. This is it, once and only. Looking up in the sky, this is the last time you will ever see this. This is the only time you will see this. This is the only time anyone will ever see this. And they knew this. And they tell you. In their story form, in their direct prophecy texts of Isaiah, or in parables, if they're prophecy parables. So, I still haven't gotten back from Stanford as to whether I answered his question. Alrighty, this is what we're waiting for. And I should bring up with the fall, because Pharaoh lost his dynasty, not just his throne, because of the death of his firstborn birthright blessing son. This church does not function that way because Brigham Young changed it. So Brigham Young changed it so that the president of the Quorum of the 12 succeeds to be the president. So Oaks, when Nelson dies, would be it, when completing the prophecy of the curse of Joseph, and technically Revelation. And so after verse 22, it says how it's supposed to be done by vote. And thus the church ceased to exist after Joseph died. But nonetheless, Brigham's fake church was shut down in 1887. And verse 27, every decision made by any quorum must be by the unanimous voice of the same. That is, every member in each quorum must be agreed to its decisions in order to make their decisions of the same power or validity one with another. And so when Nelson came out and talked about the Saturday after the funeral, that all the remainder gathered together, and they all agreed Nelson should be it, obviously. He was trying to say that they were conforming to verse 27. However, verse 28 is what you need to pay attention to. Now, somebody had written a letter to the presidency of the 70, and then the Wikipedia site was changed about the 70 and their authority. They exalted themselves beyond their calling. Because Brigham Young did not allow for the 70 to take over the church if the 12 dissolve. But will they do it anyway? Of course they will. To fool you like they did after 1887. So understand officially that a majority, verse 28, may form a quorum when circumstances render it impossible to be otherwise. And so it has to be 7 prophets left standing. If there are 6, that is not a majority. And because it's not a majority, they cannot form a quorum to conduct business and thus have a unanimous voice to pass decisions. 9, which is an interesting number, if 9 are all of a sudden all gone and only 6 remain, this church again is dissolved. There is no corporate board, there is no president, and thus the money is gone. But obviously they're gonna do some cheating. But just understand, it's cheating. They're not following their own rules that they rewrote. Okay? So it'll be interesting. What's going to happen? Is it going to happen? Or are we just all going to die in the bloodbath? So, alrighty, off to bed I go. 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer. Soldier to memory, remember? That's triggered in my mind that song. George Thorogood. He's telling a story. That's hilarious. Because Mrs. What was her name? I'm drawing a blank at the moment. It was my 7th grade English lit teacher. Or 8th grade, sorry, it was Auburn Joe. 8th grade English lit teacher. Who just had an episode one morning just chewing us out for listening to pop music that just keeps repeating the same words over and over and over and over and over and over and over. They don't tell stories like the good songs do of her generation. Is she a George Thorogood fan? Hilarious. We're going to put that as the theme song in the description below. Okay.